Hi, everyone, and welcome to this session on Zoom for new staff. I'm Sarah Battison. I'm in the Department of Technology Enhanced Learning here in MTU, and I'll be going through this session with you. So it's for any new staff in MTU that haven't used Zoom before, or if you need a refresher, I'll be going over the basics of Zoom. So I'm just going to go over what I'm going to cover in this session. So I'll be showing you how to set up Zoom in Canvas. So you're setting up your classes in Canvas to launch in Zoom. I'll be going over mic and audio setup. I'll showing how to admit your students, the chat function, sharing your screen and recording and managing recording. If you have any questions during the session, you can ask them in the Q&A tab on the Zoom webinar, or you can ask them within YouTube and we'll get back to you either during the session or at the end of the session today. So the way this is going to work is actually I'm running Zoom within Zoom. So I'm going to show you Zoom from my separate PC so you can see everything works. This is the first time we've done this. So you'll be able to see how Zoom works within this Zoom webinar. So I'm just going to get out of the presentation now and show you, before I show you Canvas, one thing that you should remember to do when you're using Zoom is to check for updates. So that's the first thing I'm going to show you how to do. So when you log into Zoom on your desktop, and I would tell you to install Zoom on your desktop, you click your icon here. And then you can go down and click check for updates, and mine should be up to date. Yeah, you can see you're up to date. So make sure your Zoom is up to date before you do anything with it, basically. But I'm going to move on to Canvas now. So for your modules in Canvas, you'll have a Zoom tab in Canvas, and this is where you'll schedule your meetings, schedule classes, online classes, that kind of thing. And today you can see that I have 2 classes scheduled, and they're actually for the 2 training sessions we're going to have today. But I'm going to show you how to make these sessions in the Zoom tab in Canvas. So you click schedule a new meeting, and then you can put a topic for the meeting, description, when it's going to be, how long. And one thing that's really helpful is you can make it a recurring meeting as well. So the same link will work every week if it's recurring. So you put in, every Tuesday at 10 a.m. or something like that. And you can have it recur over a certain amount of time or end at a certain date. You can also have a registration requirement to it if you wanted to. But if it's just a class, that you don't really need to do that. If you have an external speaker maybe coming to the class that isn't an MTU student or staff, I'd recommend clicking in the security settings, and instead of having only MTU Cork students or staff, you can select all authenticated users. So that means anybody can join the session, but basically the way it works with MTU is you still have to have a Zoom account. So if you have an external speaker but they don't have their own personal Zoom account, they'll need to get one in order to join the sessions. I'll move on. These are fairly self-explanatory, but one thing you can also do is automatically record your meeting. So you might want to click this option if you want all your sessions to be automatically recorded, if you tend to forget to do that. But the only issue with this is it automatically records it immediately when you start the meeting. So if you're starting the meeting and, getting yourself ready before the class starts and, testing everything out, that'll be recorded too. You might not want that. So we would suggest maybe you don't automatically record the meeting and instead remember to record it when you start the session. So you could have a slide in your lecture notes saying recording now on the slide or something like that to remind yourself, and then click record in the session, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. You can also have alternative hosts. So if you have multiple lecturers on your module, you can have their names here. So we have Lauren here and my name. And so that both those lecturers can start the meeting and have the host controls, basically. So now I'm going to switch and show you Zoom itself. So Zoom within Zoom, as I said, by clicking start on the meeting. So basically, when your students and you will both go to this Zoom tab to start the meetings, and you can just click start. and it should open the meeting. So it'll take a second here to launch. And then since I'm already logged into Zoom, it's just going to log me in like this. And there, okay. So the first thing you might want to do when you log into a Zoom meeting is check your audio. So you can see this little speaker icon is changing. So it is picking up something from me, but we'll go into audio settings just to be sure. So you won't be able to hear it here because my sound from my PC isn't connected to the webinar. But what you can do is click test speaker and it'll play a sound from your PC or whatever speaker you're using to make sure that that's working. And you can also click test mic and it'll do a little recording of yourself and then play it back to make sure that you have the right microphone detected as well. And you can also change. So if you have a different microphone plugged in, or if you don't want that one, you can change them here. Very similar with a screen as well. So my screen is not currently showing. So I'm going to show you it in a second. You can see me now. So I have my Logitech camera plugged in, but I can also switch to the integrated camera, but Logitech is better. You can also see the difference between HD and non-HD. The zoom is a little different. You can also mirror your video. So maybe if you were holding up something to the camera and it wasn't showing the right way around, you can mirror your video this way. You can touch up your appearance if you're feeling extra sleepy that day and you want to like soften your features or something. You can do that. And you can also adjust for low light. So if you're in a dark room or something, you can click that. One other useful thing you might want to use is the background and effects. So my background is currently blurred, but I could also have no blur, or I could have add a background. So if I just press plus and click add image, you can add any image and have that as your background. So I have the MTU backgrounds, which I believe is on the marketing website there. So I can just click that and that'd be my background. And I don't actually have my video turned on here. So if I do that, there we go. There I am with the MTU background. So you can see that we have Brendan here waiting in the waiting room. So what happens with your students when they join a session is they're not automatically added to the session. They're put in a waiting room and then you can admit them to the class basically. So what I'll do now is admit Brendan. Click that. There we go. And then he's joining the session and there you can see Brendan's joining. And great. So then what you can do to also test with your students is ask them to use the reactions button. So there's this reaction section here and you can confirm with your students, can you hear me? And they might do like a thumbs up. So I'm going to ask Brendan to do a thumbs up and you can see there's a thumbs up there. Thanks, Brendan. So I'll go through some more of the settings on Zoom now. So the security tab. So this tab is basically what you can allow other participants in the meeting to do. And you can also lock the meeting. So if you wanted nobody else to be able to join the meeting for whatever reason, you can lock it. You can hide profile pictures. You can't disable the waiting room. That's just the way it works for MTU. So it'll always be a waiting room. You can allow or disallow participants to share their screen, chat, unmute themselves, start their video, and share whiteboards. And we'll be talking about whiteboards more in the session later today, the Zoom new feature session, if you're interested in that. You can also remove participants if you need to and suspend participant activities. So that'll just stop all people's shares, all their cameras, everything like that. You don't really use that in emergencies, really. Also, you can ask to unmute. So here's Brendan. I could say ask to unmute to ask him to talk into his microphone, basically. There's also polls, which is something that was discussed last week in our Zoom refresher. I won't go into details here, but you can create polls, either quiz questions or just poll your students on stuff. You can do that ahead of time for the meeting, or you can do it within a meeting. If we'll have a look at chat here, you can write in a chat, and this is where your students will probably do a lot of their communicating with you is within the chat. So you can either write to everyone by clicking everyone and go, hello, everyone. here, and then everybody in the meeting will see that. Or you can write to someone directly. So hi, Brendan, here. And then they can do the same basically with you. And then I'll show you sharing screen. So if I click share screen here, there's a few options basically now. As I said, we won't go into whiteboards right now, but you can choose to share your whole screen. So if I click here, I'd be sharing everything that's on my screen. I could also choose to just share a certain window. So all I have open other than this Zoom session is the Google Chrome. So I could just choose to share Google Chrome, or actually I have my settings window open as well. So I could choose that. And one thing to note is if you're sharing something that has sound that's on your computer, like a YouTube video or something like that, you would have to click share sound and also optimize for video clip when you're clicking share, so that students be able to hear the sound and see the video in the best quality possible, basically. So now I'm sharing my screen. That means that Brendan can see my screen within the Zoom meeting, basically. Click stop share. You can also allow other people to share their screen in the settings. So if I go advanced sharing options, at the moment it says hosts only can share their screen. But if you wanted your students to share their screen, you can click all participants and then everybody's able to share their screen. You can also do that in the security section as well. And then I think we're on to recording. So at the moment, the session isn't being recorded. I didn't set it up to automatically record. So what I'll do is click record now. And then this is going to be recorded into the cloud. And you can also pause and replay to pause the recording if you want to for a cough or something like that. And you can also click stop recording, basically. So that's something you remember at the beginning of your class to do. And there's this little icon here, so you'll know if you're recording or not, basically. And you can see it's paused. It's pretty obvious when you've paused recording. And so I'll stop recording now. And basically, once you've stopped recording, depending on how long your session has been, it'll appear in Canvas, the recording within 10-15 minutes maybe of your class. It could be longer if your class is a long class. But what I'm going to do is show you what that looks like. So 1 second here. I go back into Canvas, and since that recording was short, it might already be here, but if it's not, I have some recordings from last week when we did similar sessions. So yeah, so we have the recordings from last week. So if I click here into the recording, you can see it's already here. From last week, and if you click play, it'll log you into the Zoom website, and then you can watch. So all your students will be able to access this too. And you can see this is my recording from last week. And one other thing that you can do is check your attendance to classes from here too. So if I go to previous meetings and then click from Thursday last week, I click report. And then you can see, so we had Ruth helping out last week. So Ruth logged in. You can see how long she logged in as well. So that's really helpful for checking who's joined your Zoom session as well. So I'll go back into that recording actually. So one thing that's really useful as well is to use recording highlights, or you can also edit the beginning and ending of your recording. So this recording is pretty short, so I don't think I can edit it, but I can show the highlights. So I could add, if I go back into the other one, I think it's a bit longer. 1 second. So cloud recordings, this one. Yeah. So you can change your highlights here. It's not working for me right now, but basically, I think it's not logged in properly or something. Basically, you should be able to edit your in point and end point here as well if you want to, for what students see. And you can also change highlights. So you can have it that it only plays highlights. You can add these yellow bits can be edited, and it'll show the highlights of the video. So if there's something you want to draw students' attention to, basically, that's how you do that. And I think that's mostly it for the introduction to Zoom. If there's anything that you think I should go over, Dara, if you want to field any questions.
No, there hasn't been any questions there. It's been really clear, and yeah, it's just been very clear for me so far. So well done on that. So no questions from anyone, unless anybody would like to put something into Zoom chat or Zoom Q&A or the YouTube chat.
Oh, one thing I will go over while we're waiting for questions is support. So if you do have any questions after the session, or if there's anything you need to know, I'll just show you how you can get to our support stuff. So if you go to tel.cit.ie, and then you can either click support up here, or you can click support down there, and then click I am a lecturer. And we've got self-guided support and guided support, but self-guided support is where you get to our staff help articles. So if you click staff help articles here, and then we have loads and loads of articles on different things like Canvas and Zoom, and also more specific stuff within those systems. If you scroll down, you can see there's the Zoom Getting Started section. So if you click there, then there's like a bunch of help articles that might help you with whatever your query is. You can also email us at edtech@mtu.ie if you have any questions about Zoom. And also Zoom support itself is pretty handy. So if there's something you can't really find on our help site, you can also look it up on support.zoom.us as well. And yeah, and I think that's it. Was there any questions, Dara?
There was, Sarah. So Claire just asks, just wondering if I should always go in through Canvas.
Yeah, so it's best to go into Zoom through Canvas if you're using classes. So you can also set up meetings outside of Canvas and have them outside of Canvas, but then the cloud recordings won't appear on Canvas. So only things that are scheduled here on the Zoom tab will actually then appear in the cloud recordings tab. But if you need to do, a meeting with a student outside of class, or a meeting with another staff member or something like that, then you can schedule those within tel.zoom.us outside of class. Basically, you sign in, you can schedule meetings that way. I should quickly show you that actually. So you can make a meeting here as well. But we would suggest that if you're hosting classes, to do it through Canvas and launch it through Canvas. Are there any other questions?
No other questions there from either Zoom or from YouTube.
That's great. So later today, we're going to have another session about Zoom on new features. So it'll be more specific to whiteboarding and sharing, advanced sharing options and that kind of thing, and annotating. So if you're interested in that, that's at 2 p.m. You can find our training page also on our website. If you click training, and then you can see that there is a session here. And you can add it to your calendar basically today at 2 p.m. You can see our new features, but we also have Canvas and Zoom general refresher is on Thursday this week, if you're interested in that as well. And we also have Canvas for new staff on Thursday this week at 10 a.m. Thanks everyone for coming. Yeah, that's it. Thanks very much.